Hello, welcome back to the Red Path. So I've just got home from work and there's been some leaks, been some pretty interesting leaks. It's 12:30 at night here and just checking Discord and stuff, and some pretty interesting stuff for your world eaters out there. So I wanted to bring them to everyone's attention. So I got these from the World Eaters Discord, World Eaters Reddit Discord basically. I won't say who posted them, but you could join there and see for yourself basically. So I'm going to go over them. There's some interesting information, and then after that I'm going to talk about the Angron reveals from the Warhammer community and just some thoughts I've had on those as I've been mulling it over. Let's just dive right into it. You should see it all on the screen right now, but I'll break it down. So basically the first bit of information is a bit more, slightly more confirmation. I mean, none of this is 100%, but each league has sort of proven to be very strongly close to what Warcom confirms. I'm sure there will be some changes and things like that. This is all going to be from playtester information, but it does fit with some rumours and stuff that I've heard several months ago from completely unrelated sources and that other people in the community have heard. So it is all starting to come together. But again, grain of salt, this isn't 100% confirmed, but it is looking pretty close. So we've got the World Eaters rules, and then there's also what appears to be called the Disciples of the Red Angel for the Army of Renown, which we kind of heard about a few weeks ago. So that's pretty interesting. Now, you won't be able to use your World Eaters stratagems if you're running the Disciples, and you won't be able to use Disciple stratagems if you're running World Eaters. They're completely separated there. So we'll look at some of the World Eaters specific stratagems. These look to be repurposed strats that we already have in some form or another. So we've got Skulls for the Skull Throne at 1 or 2 CP. You use it after one of your characters destroys an enemy character. It's written as Warlord, but I would imagine it's just character. 1 CP, you can choose one of the two options, or 2 CP, you get both. So one of the options is you get 2 tithe points. The other is your character that did the kill, claimed the skull, gains +1 to their advanced charge. So that's a pretty decent one. It'll always be dependent on what you need in the game. I'd imagine most common use here will be 1 CP to get the 2 tithe points, but you know, you might need the extra charge security later on in the game. You just have to wait and see. But it's one of those things, it doesn't crop up all the time, but it'd be handy when it does. The next one is a really cool one that I'd heard of before, and obviously it's very similar to what Khorne demons get. Banner of Blood 1 CP. If you give an icon to your berserkers, it unlocks access to this stratagem, so they get to roll 3d6 when they're charging, dropping the lowest. That's awesome. We need something like that. Would have preferred like Honor the Prince or something, but I'll definitely take this. Then we have Stoke the Nails, 1 CP again. You select a core or character to fight, and during that combat, wounds of 6, I presume on modified 6s, cause 1 mortal wound in addition, caps at 6. This is pretty good. Depending on what we get with regards to reroll wounds or anything like that, which I haven't heard anything yet, but even so, it's pretty good with the volume of things we get. Be really good into hordes especially, just because you'll be getting more attacks through. Right, that doesn't really make any sense. It'll be good into everything because the 6 is great. So yeah, sorry, long day. Next we've got Wild Fury. I love this and I hope this is true. 1 or 2 CP, a core unit fights on death. If it's troops choice, so berserkers, jackals, it'll be 1 CP, otherwise it's 2. Fight on death berserkers is going to be great, but the option to put it on other things is also pretty awesome. If that works on, it's only going to be core, so it won't be characters. But your 8 bound and stuff like that, pretty damn nice. Then we've got Killmain Burn. A World Eaters unit can heroically intervene for 6 inches. Or at 6 inches, as if they're a character. This is brilliant, and I love it. And this is a really strong stratagem. Just gives you so much utility in the opponent's fight phase, because typically, you know, people will try and deploy outside of 3 or sometimes 6 with your Masters of Execution to avoid that heroic. When you've got a squad of berserkers that can heroic, you know, it's causing a lot of problems. It's such a good psyops play as well, something to make sure your opponent's aware of, so they really, you know, stay away. And that can in fact act almost like a pseudo interrupt as well, because it will be on your opponent's turn, and assuming their unit didn't charge, you'll be in the fights first part, or you'll be fights normal, but opponent, you'll be fighting first in the fights normal bracket. Then we've got Scorn the Sorcery for 1 CP. Yep. Hopefully we get more psychic defenses, but we'll see what we get. Then this one is the most disappointing, if it's true. There's been some contention over this, but this is from what we can gather, the latest version of the playtest codex. Doesn't mean it's final, but this version of Red Butcher's 2 CP, you play it on a unit of Terminators or 8-bound, and they gain +1 damage, presumably until the end of the fight phase. So it's, you can use it multiple times during the game. I think +1 damage is great. I know in the Red Path Discord, people are sort of really kind of upset about this, which I completely understand. But the ability to become 2 damage on your choice is great. Paying in points for 2 damage across the board isn't always that good. You run into Death Guard or something like that, or into elves with a lot of 1 wound models or something. You're paying a premium. Having the option to turn it on when you need to is good. 2 CP is expensive, but I don't mind it. If you've got 3 Terminators left or 1 or 2 8-bound left, adding an extra damage there just rockets them up, and much better than Possessed, because Possessed weaknesses, for us at least, they're locked to Strength 5 and generally AP 2. We can of course put them at AP 3, but having that extra damage with some really high AP weapons will be good. So I like that. So then let's look at the Disciples of the Red Angel information here. So 1 CP for a World Eaters unit to add +1 to wound rolls when fighting below half strength. Okay, I assume that is when the World Eaters are fighting at half strength, but I'm not sure. A 1 CP version of Vets with extra steps, fine. We'll see how it goes, but +1 to wound is always a good thing to have, especially for 1 CP. Then 1 CP for 8-bound to consolidate 6 inches when an enemy falls back. This I like, especially if that 6 inches is true, because the majority of units in the game move 6, or quite a lot of them. So if they want to fall back 6 inches, if it is a consolidate move, you can end that move engaged, so you're just keeping them engaged with your 8-bound, which also means if it is as open and vague as this, your consolidate, you could tag them and other units. So that could be incredibly powerful, like game-winning powerful. But obviously we need to know the full extent of that. Any other restrictions? Then another one here, 1 CP for a unit of 8-bound to move after a casualty in the shooting phase. This ties in with what we've heard that the Berserkers are getting innately. So that'll be interesting to see how that works. Then some additional ones here, which the way it was presented implies they're part of the Disciples of the Red Angel stratagems, but I'm not 100% sure. 1 or 2 CP to the top bracket a vehicle. That does fit in with the apparent fact that Land Raiders and some of the vehicles will be part of the Disciples, but it does also feel something that World Eaters should just get anyway. It's quite a common stratagem. 1 CP, target cannot overwatch or set to defend. In addition, they're -1 to hit. I hope to God regular World Eaters get that, because I'm not sure how if I'm going to play the Disciples of the Red Angel. I don't know. I just like more freedom in my army composition, but I'm sure I'll test it out. But turning off Overwatch and also set to defend whatever, and -1 to hit, which that's a superb stratagem. That makes us very competitive into Tau, demons, with flamers, guard. Anyone who would want to overwatch us, that is incredibly good. So that gives us a lot of strength in the charge phase as well. Then we've got an auto 6 for advance, another decent one. More mobility is always good. And then 1 CP, ignore all charge modifiers. Let's see, got a couple more here. Ignoring all charge modifiers is great. That's going to account for difficult terrain. Anything that your opponent can do to halve dread tests, I believe, would count as a modifier, because it's halving your charges if you fail the dread test. Things like that. Anything that counters anything that messes with us, great. Then finally here, 1 CP, when a World Eaters unit destroys an enemy unit, the World Eaters unit gains an aura for -2 leadership and +1 to enemy attrition tests. within 6 inches. Apparently until the end of the turn. I mean, it'll have a niche. You'll use it once every 10 games, sort of thing, to sort of ensure that an enemy, chaff unit runs away or something. But overall, it's fine. Now, overall, for all of them, I think there's a lot of good stuff here. There's a lot of juicy stuff. The ability to get extra tithe points, the 3d6 charge, fight on death, mortal wounds. I really hope we get mortal wounds in the charge or the movement phase or something, but having them is good. The heroic intervention is superb. +1 damage I think is good. I would rather the other rumoured Red Butchers of +1 to hit and fight twice on Terminators be a thing, but we'll see. There's still a chance we get a points upgrade, or there is another stratagem or something. And the Disciples of the Red Angel overall seems very interesting. I'm more interested, however, in the regular World Eaters ones here. So those are the extra leaks we've got. I'm really struggling between hopium and copium right now, really. I'm so hopeful for the Codex, but also, like, I hate leak culture. I genuinely do. And, here I am taking part in it, but this is also a YouTube channel for World Eaters News, and this is World Eaters News. But yeah, we are in a world where we have a leak culture, so, we just got to deal with it. Anyway, so let's move on, and I'm going to talk a little bit, just for a few minutes, about Angron. So let's bring that up. Okay, so this is just the stuff that was revealed on Warcom. I don't know how I feel. I mean, overall, it's Angron, so I'm going to get him. I'm going to run him at some point. A few things I want to point out. Everyone's really, or a lot of people are super hyped about 16-inch move, which is a really good move. Don't get me wrong, it's very good. However, we have to remember it's on an 18 wound frame. 18 wounds mean Angron doesn't benefit from obscuring or dents. He's going to be generally visible turn 1 no matter what. Any enemies with decent range over 24 inches, over 36 inches, whatever, are going to be able to reach out and touch him. Now, his defensive profile that we know of is toughness 7 with a 2-up armor save, presumably a 4-up invul. I'll be very surprised if he didn't get one. Like just a flat 4-up invul, not a demon version or anything like that. 2-up and T7 is better than T8 with a 3-up against small arms, okay? But it's worse against heavy weapons. The reason I say that is small arms like bolters, anything without AP and that will be wounding it on 5s, because the way the variance on the dice math will work is having a 2-up with Armour of Contempt, you're going to save a lot more than versus if they're wounding you on 6s, but you got a 3-up save, if that makes sense. I'd rather be wounded on 5s with a 2-up save than wounded on 6s with a 3-up save. And the reason for that is there's a larger prevalence of auto-wounding going on now. I mean, I know Garda are about to lose it, most likely, but the auto-wounding on 6s to hit is a thing. So I would rather have to rely on my 2-up saves, which is obviously going to be a mistake at some point. But the problem is, when you're a T7 unit and a Lord of War type thing, like a Primarch, people are going to be throwing Melter into you anyway. So unfortunately, the stuff that we're not quite as tough at versus, Mortarion or Magnus, they have the T8 with the 3-up. The Melter, the las cannons, stuff like that are going to be pushing us to our invuln anyway, so that it negates the points we've spent on the 2-up save, and the T7 hurts against Melter because they're wounding us on 3s, not 4s. Now, we don't know the full profile. He may get a defensive buff. I'm very hopeful that he gets basically true Berserker, halving incoming damage. That would really help him a lot, I think. That would push him into the realms of being competitive. If the Blood Tithe regeneration is as true as we expect it to be, because Warcom also sort of mentioned it at the tail end. However, let's look at the positives here. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 2, doesn't look like he's got a gun anyway. 18 wounds, yep, okay, whatever. 12 attacks is phenomenal. Leadership 10, fine, whatever. 16-inch move is good. The problem is your opponent will be, on a 24-inch no man's land with a 12-inch charge threat range, 16. That's 28 inches. They just have to deploy 4.1 inches behind the deployment line, and you can't turn one charge. Or they just feed you a squad of guardsmen or whatever. But whatever, we'll see. We need to know the full picture before we can be truly salty about it. Next, let's look at the weapons here. Samniarius and Spine Grinder. So the sweep is going to give him 36 attacks. Now it could be with the Legion trait, if the Legion trait is +1 to attack and strength as it's supposed to be, that would be 39 attacks, which is pretty ludicrous. At strength 9, -3 AP, damage 1. Yep, that is killing a shit ton of guardsmen. And it's doing a lot of damage everywhere, really. Be effective against just about anything, quite frankly. And then you've got the skull-taking slash, which will put him at strength 14, -4. Well, it could be strength 15, I guess, with the Legion trait. -4 AP, D3 +8. This is a bit of a letdown. I wish he was hitting strength 16, just to wound T8s on 2s, which really does feel more appropriate. -4 is fine, but we've seen -5 and -6 on other models, and Angron's melee should, if he's not going to ignore invols, which is possible, that could be in his data sheet, but if he's not ignoring invols, I want him to ignore all armor saves. I want Terminators getting involved, but the Orc Terminators, they don't have an invol, but they got a 2-up save. I want a Terminator in heavy cover to not have an armor save against Angron's slash, quite frankly. And then damage 3 + D3 is fine. I guess because he's got so many attacks, it's just The problem with that is I'm just thinking purely competitively. The more dice rolls I have to make, the more time it is off my clock. So if I get 7 of these slashes through, and it's against a squad of 5 wound models or something, I don't know, like crisis suits, I have to roll all those D3 separately. That's just time consuming, and that annoys me and frustrates me. But whatever, just make it flat 6 GW. Come on, FAQ it before the codex drops. And then finally, the Wrathful Presence. So I'm hoping Wrathful Presence is a Warlord trait that you can give to anyone, that it's not just one of Angron's abilities, because that would make the ability itself, Wrathful Presence, awesome. If it's locked to Angron, fine, but at the moment, Angron isn't feeling auto-take to me, which is fine. Maybe we shouldn't have auto-take models, but we're World Eaters. We want to put Angron on the table. We want Angron and Khorne to be just doing all the work for us, Berserkers cleaning up the mess. But anyway, so in your command phase, you select one of the following abilities, and that model has that ability until the start of your next command phase. So, Infectious Rage, while a World Eater's core unit is within 6, add 1 to the attack's characteristic of models in that unit. That's great if you're running a Berserker Swarm or Terminators, 8-bound, stuff like that. It's fine, but I think of the 3, this is the worst one. The second one here, Glorious Bloodletting, which is another aura, while another friendly World Eaters unit is within 6 inches of this model. Each time a model of that unit makes a melee attack, reroll a hit roll to 1. World Eaters unit. Khorne Order Skulls can be a World Eaters unit. Your Leviathan Dreadnoughts will be World Eaters units. Your Land Raiders will get reroll 1s to hit in combat. Everything in your army will be eligible to this, unless it's like Agent of Chaos or whatever. Presume this will affect demons, Khorne demons that are in the Army of Renown. It'd be weird if they didn't. But yeah, so that's good. Giving Leviathans reroll 1s in combat is pretty nice, and any other non-core combat units we have, Blood Slaughterers, things like that. The Brass Scorpion. Okay, anyway. And then the third one, which is what is holding Angron by a lifeline for me as being a competitive choice, Righteous Slaughter. While a unit is within 6 inches of this model, that unit cannot fall back. A unit. That's enemy units and friendly units. Fine, whatever. We can't fall back. No feels bad for me. Enemy knights cannot fall back. Now, aircraft can fall back because aircraft don't actually fall back. They don't make use of the fallback. They're just able to make a normal move out of combat. So they sidestep that. So aircraft, you're not going to be locking them down, at least with this rule. However, other units, tanks, infantry, whatever, Lords of War cannot fall back, which could be very good. Obviously, I don't think you're going to be trying to unless it's like a shooty knight or something, because obviously like enemy combat knights or Bellicor or something like that are exactly the units you don't want to be caught in combat with Angron, probably, again, unless we know more about its defensive stuff. But it is very interesting that it's just Walla units, so it's literally everything, as far as I know, except aircraft. Now, you will be able to, I assume, use like teleport out. Like some, I was just talking to a buddy at work, and Chaos Demons have a thing where they can, pull a unit out of combat and teleport it somewhere else. Those things will probably circumvent this because it does specify fallback, which is a specific type of move. So yeah, that's Angron. I'm going to get him, and we do have more rules to see. I'm not being salty here. I'm just preparing myself I'm trying not to overhype and be disappointed. Put it like that. The T7 2+, I wish he was T8, but he's not. In fact, none of his statistics are an 8. That is such a missed opportunity there. And we don't know what it'll be like when he degrades. I assume his strength will go down, and his movement will go down. His attacks will probably go down, but I hope to God they do the the old Lord of Skulls thing and the attacks go up, or I think Scarbrand has the same, something like that. But yeah, I don't know. The Bloodletting Sweep is excellent just because it's 36 to potentially 39 attacks. You are clearing anything, and at strength 9 you can use that into vehicles, tougher units. T5 stuff, it feels a bit bad with wounded on 3s, but it is still 36 plus attacks. The Skull Taking Slash, I'm not in love with, but it is 12 attacks, I guess. I've got to remember that. It's a lot of attacks at that profile. And then the Ruffle Presence, like I said, I hope it's a Warlord trait, because that on a generic character, on a Juggernaut Lord or something, being able to do that without having to commit to Angron, because not every meta is going to be friendly to Angron, but that is a great ability if you can throw it on something else, but I don't know if we will. Okay, anyway, that's it for this one. Just wanted to quickly talk about this stuff, and I say quickly, this has probably been a 20-30 minute video now, but I wanted to get it recorded. It's going to have bare bones editing and then upload it and throw it out there for you. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. Hopefully given you some good information. Please come and join our Red Path Discord. Join the conversation there. But until next time, everyone, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill main burn.